Hello again, everyone. So as you can see, my baby's in the background there, my little 28-weeker. He is now about 9.5 months and 6.5 months corrected. So today, what I want to talk about is the feeding struggles of a preemie. So this is just my personal experience with the feeding issues that I've had with him so far, that not seeing an end to for now. So just to start, I mean, he was born at 28 weeks and he was on the NG tube. I mean, I'm gonna skip the whole story of his birth because and his stay, because I have it in another video. So you could watch that if you'd like to have a better understanding of the history. So I'm just gonna focus on the feeding. So he was on the fed intravenously, and then he was on the NG tube until maybe 38 weeks. So he was in the NICU, and he came off the NG tube really quickly from the time that he started bottle feeding. So I was pumping breast milk, and it was being fortified with Enfamil powder. So he was getting, I think, 91 calories at that point. And he went really quickly, and one day I think it took like 2 weeks for him to get off completely of the NG tube. Basically just one day he just pulled it out. It was never put back in. I was super happy. And then a week later we just went home. We came home on oxygen, which is off now, but we came home, actually, at least there was no NG tube. And we were sent home on another formula. Well, it's kind of similar, but it's a little different. So he was on Enfamil and the NICU, and then he came home on Enfacare, 91 calories. So I would mix in the powder with the water to make it 91 calories, and I would give that to him. So right away I noticed a big change. He started getting very constipated, like he didn't go to the bathroom for maybe 5 days straight, and then the spitting up started kind of more and more, and then after about like a month and a half, like at first he was eating okay. He was getting hungry, waking up at night to eat. He was getting really well, but as the time progressed, the spitting up got worse and worse, to the point that he was like projectiling every single feed. He was started already on ranitidine and they NICU'd because of his reflux. So and I have monthly visits to the hospital where it's like a BPD clinic, because he used to have bronchopulmonary dysplasia, and so I brought that up to them, and they suggested changing ranitidine to Prevacid. So then he was a Prevacid. I wasn't seeing any changes. It was just projectiling all the time, and it got so bad to the point that he was starting to refuse to eat, and it was honestly the hardest thing I have ever encountered in my life, to feed this baby. I would have to, basically it was a battle. So he would scream and yell and push the bottle out with his tongue until like I forcefully get him to suction, and then he would just like finish the whole bottle in 2 seconds. And then after he's done, I will have to keep him up for about an hour and a half. So either hold him or put him up on the pillow, and he would still spit up, and it could be anywhere from the time he finished feeding to 2.5 hours after feed. So sometimes he would spit up like 2.5 hours after feed. So even if he would fall asleep, I would have to be there watching him 24/7. Like I couldn't leave him 1 second, because and every time he would spit up, it would come out of his nose. Like his mouth and nose would be like a volcanic eruption, basically. I was really losing my mind. So it just got to the point that I couldn't. And like as he was getting bigger and stronger, it was getting harder and harder to like force him to eat, because you're starting to lose like the sucking reflex. So he was able to just say like, no, I'm not gonna have this. And then he was just drinking. He used to have like maybe for 400 ml, 450, and he was just having like 200, 250, and I was like freaking out. So I brought him to the hospital. They put him on the IV for dehydration. So it was he was on IV for maybe like 6 hours or so. And then the occupational therapist came, and she was like trying this nipple, that nipple, same reaction. And she's like, okay, let's try to give him water. So she gave him water, and all of a sudden he was like not freaking out anymore. And he wasn't like completely accepting it, but he wasn't rejecting it, like, choking and trying to throw up and stuff like that. So she's like, okay, it seems like it's the milk, okay, thank you for finally giving me some kind of indication of what's happening here. So while they were figuring things out, I just went on regular Enfamil, ready to feed. The puking completely stopped right away. So it was, I was like, I'm not going back on the Enfacare anymore. So then they suggested like, okay, go on Neosure. But I was starting to get a feeling that is a powder that he can't really tolerate. So, I was still on the Enfamil, but he wasn't getting enough calories because it was just the regular Enfamil, 68 calories, which is not enough. And he needed more. So I tried, I went to go buy the Neosure, I tried it, right away vomit. So I was like, no, I can't do this anymore. I'm not going back to any powdered formula, that's it. So the solution that we came up with is that I was gonna buy the concentrate, those containers of concentrate formula that are, I think they're like 138 calories per 100 milliliters. So I would dilute it. I would put less water than what's on the recipe. So the nutritionist gave me a different recipe to do for him. So I would dilute it in a way to make it 91 calories, but now I made it 100 calories, and I've switched to Good Start. So a Good Start he seems to like, so he does take it. I mean, he was taking about, I would say 400, 450 again. So I guess I was like kind of happy. He still wasn't gaining very well, so he was referred to the feeding clinic by Complex Care at the Children's Hospital. So I went to the feeding clinic, and they checked him out. They watched him have his bottle. Basically what he was doing at that point is that he would, he'd get hungry. He would happily take 25 milliliters, open his mouth and everything. After 25, no more, doesn't want to have any more, doesn't want to nothing. So they're like, okay, this baby seems like he has issues with his appetite. And the occupational therapist said the same thing. So at that point he was 5 months. So they're like, look, he might lose a bit, or he might not gain, but you have to get him to 6 months, and we could start appetite stimulants called sapraheptadine. So I said, okay, fine, like let's see what happens. And then he really wasn't eating well, like he wasn't gaining well. And then they talked to the GI doctor, and they decided at 5.5 months to start him on the sapraheptadine. Even though it was like a bit early, but they did like a gradual, like I had a whole schedule of how to start it. So it was like 0.5 milliliter twice a day for 2 days, then 1 milliliter twice a day for 2 days, and then like on and on and on until like I reached 2 milliliters twice a day for him. And I have to say, this medication I really had my doubts, but it actually really works. So what the way that it was prescribed is that you were like three weeks on, 1 week off, because you get a dependence on it, or like you get used to it and it doesn't work anymore. So the first cycle, I noticed a big change in the intake of the formula that he was having. Like, I really did notice a big change. Well, big. He was having, he used to have like 400, 450, and now he was having about 500, which is like a big improvement. And the feeds were starting to get a little bit faster, because it would literally take me an hour and a half to give him each bottle, and now it started taking me about 45 minutes, I would say, for each bottle. So then the 3 weeks passed, and we came off. The day after, it was like a disaster. He took maybe 300 ml, and then for the next few days it was like insane. He was puking. He didn't want to have any milk. It was horrible. And I was just calling the psychologist at his feeding clinic, and like crying, and I'm like, no, what to do. But then I started like picking up a little bit again, and then I restarted just now the second cycle. So it's been 2 weeks, and now he's taking like about 550 ml a day. And remember, this is 100 calories, so he's taking 550 calories total, because each milliliter is 1 calorie for the way I mix his milk. So so far it's going well with it. I'm really scared for what's gonna happen when I have to go off again. So like I'll let you guys know. He posted like maybe it was just like a fluke that happened that week that was going that badly. But this medication does seem to work for him. I also give him some probiotics to help him, go to the bathroom regularly. And also I give him cod liver oil. So those are like I give him the vitamin D as well. So hoping for him to not get sick through this winter. So this medication, I would definitely recommend it if I personally, as a mom who's been going through feeding issues, recommend it. Please do talk to the healthcare provider for your baby. But I know that this medication only works if there are no other issues going on with your baby, no other GI issues, severe reflux, things like that. Like it's not gonna work apparently if there is another reason for there to be a lack of appetite. So that's that. So now he's he seems like he's growing pretty well. Like he is I don't have a scale at home, so more we're going to his clinic, his BPD clinic, and they're gonna do like their monthly big evaluation of his development and everything. So we're gonna see what his weight is like. But I believe he's about 7 kilograms now, so that's, I think, 15.5 pounds. So that's all. If you have any questions, let me know, and I will update you guys maybe in a few weeks, and maybe I'll do an update also tomorrow on how his BPD clinic went. So thank you very much, and let me know if have any questions. You could comment below, and I will get back to you. Thank you so much. Bye. Say bye, Adriano. Okay, he's too busy.